Alright, so conscious. Crazy, huh? Crazy. Here we go. Lucid dreams, so I can't be out here living stupid. I love hard, so you could say I was shot by Cupid. Say less, but every now and then I drop my 2 cents. Tunnel vision could really be a nuisance. ISO, yeah, you know we be the movement.
Cheers, man. It's rare to have a beer with someone nowadays.
It's as good as it gets. So to explain to the viewers when they watch it, obviously we done a watch deal the other day. You bought a nice watch off us for some Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And we asked you to come on. You said yes, which I appreciate. Thank you for coming on.
All right.
And I just thought I'd get you on. It's definitely a hot topic at the minute, isn't it?
It certainly is, yeah.
Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
So, just the idea was to get you on, hopefully get you to explain it simply to people that don't understand too much about it and people that are into it, get into a bit more of the nitty-gritty. But first for the people, do you want to explain a little bit about your background in crypto and how you got into it? Yeah,
so I guess my crypto journey started in it first started in 2010. But it wasn't like anything serious. And then as sort of like the market progressed and, Bitcoin started to go up and it had new utilities, I just became more involved. I guess things for me really started to become serious in around 2016, 2017, when we when the last bull market we were in started. And, I just was doing anything I could in the space to make money, because there's a lot of money to be made in crypto bull markets. My background's in sort of finance. I'm a trader. So what I do right now is I'm head of trading for the NEM blockchain protocol, which is one of the oldest and largest blockchain protocols. Our token's XEM. You can check it out on CoinMarketCap. What I do there is I manage sort of a portfolio and manage our sort of market. Market making, all sorts. So essentially, I've got I guess I'm a crypto trader, if you want to just give me a label. And that's where my knowledge is in the crypto markets. And I sort of just kind of naturally fell into it. I haven't had like a normal job. Sort of just happened while I was in uni. It's a bull market right now. I endured the 2018, 2019 bear market. Still managed to survive. And
so what is it? The bull, is that what it is? Bull and bear market?
Bull and bear. So essentially, we talk about animal spirits in markets, right? Mm-hmm. So, a little side story there is that Wall Street, you've probably all heard of Wall Street, which is sort of the main street where all the main financial center in New York. It got its name from a wall that used to run around the perimeter of the early New York settlement to keep the animals in, and the animal spirits still exist in Wall Street, right? So this is where we get like bull and bear markets, and then there's some other animals like pigs and sheep, and they're all sort of in markets. So a bull market is when a market's going up. If something's bullish, if something's going up, we say it's bullish. If it's going up a lot, we go it's really bullish. The reason why that is because the bull bucks up when it strikes. If something's going down, we say it's bearish. So we could be in a bear market if it's going down for an extended period of time, or if it just goes down for a little bit, we could today's quite bearish or something like that. It's because bears swipe down when they attack. Then there's two other animal spirits that are less known, right? And you don't want to be one of these, right? Because you don't want to be a sheep, because sheep follow blindly and they get slaughtered. And you don't want to be a pig, because pigs get greedy and a fat pig gets slaughtered, right? So you always got to manage those two spirits of managing internally. Mm-mm. And then you got to be a bull in a bull market and a bear in a bear market. And if you try and do opposite to the market conditions, you generally get smacked.
Yeah. So that's what it is right now, a bull market, just because everything's going up.
Yeah. So it's bullish. The watch market's bullish as well.
Yeah.
So there's two bull markets.
Yeah. Got ya. So you say you've been doing it for some years now. So you're pretty much a crypto trader. That's pretty much your title sort of thing, yeah?
Yeah.
So all I know is, obviously, we've known you for some months. You used to have an office where we have an office.
Yeah.
And we talk about watches and stuff. So, Nick, don't mind me saying this. So Nick got a watch from us the other day. for less than 1 Bitcoin, and he told me the story about just him getting into crypto and some different things he's doing. And like I said, I just thought, I've got to get you on. So hopefully throughout this, you can share some interesting stories for people.
Yeah, sure.
So why at the minute is it a bullish market? Like what makes it a bull market?
Yeah. So there's a core sort of fundamental component to the value of Bitcoin, which is called the halving. And the way Bitcoin works is you have all of these nodes and miners distributed around the world, all securing a distributed network. And that's why, Bitcoin has never been hacked or had any downtime. And Bitcoin was just made by some anonymous guy named Satoshi Nakamoto.
I still don't know who he is.
We
today.
still don't know who he is, right? And whoever he is, he's filthy rich, right? But his wallets have never moved. And because the blockchain is transparent, we can see the wallets haven't moved, right? But think about this. This Satoshi Nakamoto guy just made it, right? And just posted it on a forum, and it existed, and people started participating in it. It was nothing. There was no money spent in it. The US military, which spends literally, we don't know how much it spends, but you've spent trillions of dollars on that entity, has been hacked several times, right? Bitcoin's never been hacked. And this is one of the main reasons why it's valuable, is because it's just can't be hacked. So it's a good way to store and share value to anyone around the world. And I mean, that's there's a lot of value in that proposition that people don't immediately understand. But if you think about somewhere like, Argentina, where their currency fluctuates so much and is almost worthless, you would want to own Bitcoin, right? Also, say in Venezuela again, where the government's confiscating your wealth, you want to have sovereignty of wealth. The government can shut your bank account, right? But they can't take away your Bitcoin. So this is another reason why it's so important, particularly as we move into an age where sort of there's going to be more surveillance and more control. Having Bitcoin in your portfolio, or just owning some as sort of like an emergency, I've got some Bitcoin. If everything shits itself, I got some Bitcoin that I can use, right? For instance, in Venezuela, people were trying to get out of the country with suitcases full of gold, and they were getting caught at the airport, and they were getting their gold confiscated. If you want to get out of Venezuela and you have 100 Bitcoins, you can just put it on the internet and then just fly and then access it next time.
It's really like the first thing of its kind, isn't it? Like there's been nothing else the same as or similar before, has there?
No. So there are a few types of digital cash, but nothing was as successful as Bitcoin because, one, they weren't truly decentralized. Two, they
that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
decentralized.
Decentralized. Yeah, I mean that's the main thing, right? They weren't as decentralized and they weren't as secure. But I mean, I digress. And initially, I was talking about the value of it. So there's an event called the halving event, and essentially what that is there's a block reward. So every 10 minutes, Bitcoin is mined by miners who secure the network. And right now, I think it's like 6 point something. Right, I should know that because I'm a crypto guy. But every 4 years, it halves. That block reward halves. So it used to be 50 something, and then it keeps halving. But every year there's a halving event because it cuts the supply of Bitcoin. You get way more demand, right? So just in simple economics, supply and demand gives you a price, i.e. Rolex watches are going up because more people want them, right? That's supply. That's demand. And there's not that much supply, so the price goes up a lot. Same with Bitcoin. There's more and more demand growing, and the supply is actually reducing. So it's kind of like designed to be deflationary. It will go up over time as more people get interested. And if you just take a second to think about the sort of history of Bitcoin and the participants who have been in it at different stages. Initially, it was fringe sort of anarchists who believed that you need to have digital currency, right? And then you had sort of the Silk Road start. So you had sort of people who were drug dealers and who wanted to buy drugs were getting involved in crypto, right? And then you had sort of traders sort of start trading it with the Mt. Gox exchange. And then again, they were still fringe people. Like you didn't really have, like no one in society who was normal was dealing with
when
Bitcoin
was this again?
and knew about Bitcoin. So this was all around 2014, right? Well, it was a bit before that. It started around 11 and then sort of collapsed around 2014. But as that started to happen, you had more cryptos start to develop. And I guess you really started to have, I guess, interest from sort of more what people would consider more institutional money started around 2016. So if you go and look at a price chart of Bitcoin, you'll see like, you know, when Mt. Gox started, the price went up heaps. And then when that collapsed, it went down. It sort of collapsed around when Silk Road also collapsed. So you lost a lot of the utility. You couldn't do that much with it if you couldn't trade it and spend it. But then in 2016, I think it was around 2016, 2015, you had capital flight issues in China, i.e. the Chinese government put capital controls on renminbi leaving the country. And I mean, you know, I'm Australian. Our housing market was rocketing because we had a lot of Chinese investment into the country, right? Yeah. And so this was a problem for the Chinese government. So they put controls on how much money you could take out. So some people started to use Bitcoin, right? And Bitcoin had sort of developed a lot more than it initially was. And there were these other projects like Ethereum, like NEM, that were doing different things, kind of similar but different. Like, you know, there's an idea of smart contracts, which we won't get into, but it's extremely important. And like, you know, in like 2 years' time, everyone's going to be dealing with smart contracts, but they won't really know it. Just like right now, you deal with AI on your phone. That predictive text is an AI, but you don't know you're dealing with an AI technology. So it's going to be like an invisible blockchain, invisible smart contracts. It's actually a really important development in sort of technology. It's a great leap forward, but we won't get into it. But you've had all this money coming into Bitcoin from China, which actually started to push the price up a bit. And then all these people started to get interested in it again. And then, you know, they had like more funds coming in, you know, a lot more people started to enter. And then around at the end of 2017, I think it was like the 18th of December 2017, Bitcoin peaked. All of the alts sort of peaked like a month later, and everything collapsed and went to a bear market. And, you know, that sort of, I think that bottomed around like, it was the end of 2018 or end of start of 2019. I think it might have been January 14, 2019. It bottomed. And it sort of started to go up, but it really started to get bullish last year, right? So, you know, let's just flash back to sort of how this whole situation started that we're in. We had fucking COVID, right? And when COVID first started, I'm sure you'll all remember, in March, like 16 or 17, there was a massive crash across all markets globally. Everything dumped, including crypto. And what essentially caused that was, you know, you had a lot of people selling because there was uncertainty. They didn't know what was going to happen with COVID. Everything was shutting down. Then the issue was there was a liquidity crunch. A lot of people are really levered up in markets, and when their positions go against them, they need to manage their margin. And a lot of people couldn't manage the margin, so they just had to close it out. And so everyone was selling and selling, so you had the flash crash. Subsequently, what happened is we all went into lockdown, right? The economy stalled, and governments printing heaps of money, right? So just take simply just like basic economic supply and demand. If you have the same sort of demand, but you have a lot more supply, what happens to the value, right? Supply and demand, it goes down. So what's been happening, particularly in the US, but basically amongst all major Western governments, is there's been stimulus, right? Stimulus, printing, money printing. And to give you an idea of of the scale, just in the US, after the 2008 financial crisis, over the 4 years to 2010, there was roughly $1.4 trillion printed and put into the monetary system over about 4 years, I think, right? I've had a few Asahi, so I could be wrong. From March to June, there was something like $2 or $3 trillion added into the market, right? It's gone exponential. The monetary supply has like more than tripled since COVID. It's just gone absolutely bananas, right? So a lot of, and this is sort of leads back to sort of the participants entering the space. So a lot of people, a lot of fund managers, a lot of people who are sort of more clued up are now seeing Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation, i.e. a weakening dollar, right? As if a currency inflates, its purchasing power decreases. And that's because Bitcoin is inherently deflationary, right? So the price, there's going to be less Bitcoin. There'll never be more Bitcoin, right? So people are viewing it as an inflation hedge, and this is a new narrative, right? Narratives drive markets. So you have all of this Wall Street money now flowing into it, and then you even have U.S. corporates like Tesla, who are putting a portion of their balance sheet into
Did you put one?
Bitcoin,
What did you put in? 1.5 bill.
1.5 bill,
Yeah.
right? Which was 8% of his balance sheet.
Yeah.
He put 1.5 billion in, right, to hedge against a weakening dollar, right? You just don't want to own cash now. You just don't want to have any cash. If you have too much cash, it's kind of silly. You know, you want to be putting into a watch, you want to put in crypto, real estate. You know, if you can get a big fat 30-year loan because the interest rate's so low, you know, probably do that. Like right now is the time to borrow money and to not hold cash. Right? But that's sort of why people are coming to the space. So now you have funds looking at it, you have US corporates looking at it. I mean, just to give you an idea, if you get that Tesla put 8% of their balance sheet in. Tesla's one of the biggest companies in the world. And prior to Tesla, there was a company called MicroStrategies, less well known, but it's on the NASDAQ. And they started moving in their balance sheet into BTC in August last year. Since August last year, their stock price has gone up over 1,000%, right? Now, if you're a publicly listed company, right, or just a corporate, right, you're looking at that going, even if you don't buy the inflation hedge narrative, you're looking at that going, if we move a portion of our balance sheet into BTC, we'll probably have a positive impact on our share price, right? And i.e., that means I'm going to get a sweet bonus at the end of the year. And hell, no one else is buying our products right now because we're in an economic depression. So anything we can do to stimulate is probably good. So I guarantee you more people think about it. Elon Musk and Tesla are not the last people to do this. If you get 1% move of US corporates' balance sheets into crypto, I think it works out to be roughly sort of, I worked this out yesterday, works out to be something around like $20 billion. $20 billion into space. And now people might go, that's not that much relative to sort of the market cap and whatnot. But the thing with Bitcoin, like I said, it's deflationary, and a lot of people who hold it aren't actually selling it, right? So on exchanges right now, if you wanted to go and buy Bitcoin, there's only 3.2 million Bitcoins on exchanges. So if there's more demand than that,
3.2 million.
3.2 million on all of the exchanges.
What, the amount of Bitcoins?
The amount of Bitcoins on because Bitcoin's a transparent ledger. We can see it. Anyone can look at the blockchain and see this. There's only 3.2 million Bitcoins. So yeah, like if you get just US corporates move in 1%, then you take out like 20% of that value, right? So there's 20% less Bitcoins on exchanges. And then there's this thing that's in markets we talk about reflexivity. Like you get these reflexive moves, i.e., someone said that Bitcoin's a good inflation hedge. Someone else believed it was, so they did it. And now it's becoming an inflation hedge just because people are saying it, right? But then also, you get this herd mentality. Remember we spoke about animal spirits earlier. We spoke about sheep, right? So you start to get this herd mentality. And how it generally concludes, how a bull market generally concludes, is you get a really strong herd, right? And the people who are always... The sheep that always get slaughtered in the herd are always the retail trade, always retail, right? So here's the sell signal. When you see people, right, who don't generally have an interest in markets at all and aren't, like in markets in general, and don't invest in anything, and they're not the type of person who you would expect to be investing in something, and all they're doing is investing in Bitcoin, and you see a bunch of these people, that's a big alarm bell, okay? That's the time for you to start selling out of this stuff. Because remember, sheep gets slaughtered, and the retail sheep gets slaughtered the worst.
Give them briefly the story you said earlier about the watered down version.
Yeah. So, you know, in 2017, you know, me and one of my buddies were aggressively trading this stuff, and in sort of, I think it was just around Christmas Day, we started to just sell everything, right? And we went on a little tour around the world, and we were in Amsterdam for New Year's, right? And we were going to a Loveland festival. I don't know. I know this is all your audience there in the UK, so I'm guessing some have been to Loveland. It's good. So we went to Loveland. We got in the cab to go to Loveland, and the cab driver's like, "Oh, have you guys heard of Bitcoin before?" And we're like, "Oh no." I'm like, "What's that?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it's like it's this thing," and didn't really know what it was, but he's telling me how he's going to start investing in Bitcoin. I was like, okay. We get in another cab, and another cab driver's telling us the same story. Then at the end of the festival, it's like 4:30. We're leaving, and there's a guy there with a nitrous canister on his back, selling nitrous balloons for €5 a balloon, right? Which is actually pretty. That's pretty good.
Decent
deal,
business.
Right? That's a decent business, right? You got to work New Year's Day at 4:30 a.m. It's not for me, but right, smart thinking. So my buddy's up there talking to him, and I'm just sitting. I'm just done. Right? I'm sitting on like just a stare, and my buddy's like, "Oh, so this is pretty smart. Like you must be making a fair amount of cash. You know, classic trader, just always trying to sniff the dollars." And he goes, "Yeah, it's good, but I'm quitting because I'm going to start trading Bitcoin." And we both look at each other, and we're like, "That's it. Get out.
It's time to get out."
So
Yeah.
the remainder we had, we washed out, which turned out to be a good thing because I think it was like in February or end of Jan, things just started to sell drastically. So, I mean, I spent a lot of my time looking at charts and looking at at blockchain data to try and get an understanding of like the flows and how high are we going to go, and is now a good time to buy or should it be selling now? It gets to a point when markets get exuberant, irrational and exuberant, right? When none of that stuff works, just because there's so many sheep flowing in that they're just pushing it up and they just keep bidding it higher and higher, that you can't really do anything to figure out when it's going to stop. So you just sell a bit, and then you just got to that's when you have to read your surroundings, right? It becomes like all of the analytics go out the window, and then now you just like you have to observe humanity, right? And when you're in something like I have been for so long, you kind of can tell, without even if I didn't look at any of that stuff, just from what I pick up from my everyday interactions with people, I could tell sort of where the market is. No, maybe not the price, but how steep it's getting, right? Just because I'm like, okay, well, these type of people would be entering now, and these type of people would be entering now, and I'm kind of watching and waiting, and for when I'm like, hey, these people are entering now, so now I'm out. But it's not right now. So.
No. Good. What's some of the biggest gains you've seen recent?
This is the biggest gain story this week, right? So, one of my buddies has a project called DAOmaker, right? DAOMAKER, and they're like, they've worked through a bear market, right? They worked their asses off, and like a lot of the people that I talk to and stuff, like a lot of the people who've been in crypto, we feel so elated right now because when there's a bear market, people think like, what are you doing at crypto?
Yeah.
You just like you actually sort of go through a lot, right? It's not, and also there's no money to be made, so you got to be tough, and you got to have grit, and you have to sort of find opportunities, right? So when it goes up, it's just like it's a great feeling. So these guys worked their ass off for 2 years. They listed their crypto. They listed their crypto on, I think it was last Tuesday, right? And it listed at 10 cents. Okay. And, just before I checked it, it was at $6.
Wow.
So that's gains, right? That's gains. That's serious gains.
Yeah.
And like, another one of my buddies was in that. I was in that. And that's a mad trade. That's a mad trade. This is the type of stuff you expect in a bull market. So like getting in on a theory, so the second highest market cap crypto is called Ethereum. And, I feel like there's like a generation of crypto people who sort of miss Bitcoin, but they were kind of in early on Ethereum. And I would classify myself as one of those people.
There's a lot of talk about Ethereum in a minute.
Yeah.
Well, for me anyway, being not involved in crypto.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll tell you the gain story, and then tell me what you're thinking. So Ethereum right now, I kind of think it's a bit of like it's kind of boring for me. It's price action because it's just not going as aggressive as I want to see things in a bull market. So I'm actually sold a lot of Ethereum. I don't own that much anymore. But yeah, I mean, like, what is it? It's a couple $1,000 now.
Yeah.
Like, the 2,000 maybe. Like I was in that like when it was like very, very low, below 2 digits. So yeah, I mean, if you, and this, like right now, literally everyone is hitting me up, right? Literally everyone I know, right? And I'll help out my friends,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then if I don't really know you that much, I just ignore you, right? So that's why you Colby guys are lucky, right?
That's
you
it,
know?
mate.
Yeah. So what I say to people who are trying to enter the space right now is, whatever you put in, you got to have the stomach to see it at least lose 40% of its value, right? And if you're not going into the right things, it could be more than that. But if you're in the right things, you could literally see it double, triple, 4 times, right? You just got to be smart. And the fact is, if you're just an average Joe investor who isn't a crypto person, doesn't know someone who's balls deep in crypto and has been for a while, because if they've just got into crypto like in the last 6 months or a year, they don't really know what they're doing. If you know someone who's been longer, lucky, milk them, take them out for dinner, whatever you got to do.
Buy them some Asahis.
Buy them some Asahis, yeah. Discounts.
That's it.
Yeah. If you, get as much info as you can, but if you don't, just sort of buy Bitcoin, Ethereum. There's a few others that you should probably get. Again, this isn't financial advice, right? I'm just saying, speaking in general terms. But yeah, I would buy sort of high market cap stuff that everyone knows. Don't go digging for the crazy opportunities, because if you mess that up, you get hurt, right? But those crazy opportunities are there, I can assure you. They're certainly there, right? You can do so for instance, that one 10 cents to $6. That's what is that? 60x?
Yeah.
So you put in $1, you get $60,
yeah.
right?
So I was going to ask you, mate, it's my podcast, but the cameras make me nervous talking about things, knowing what you can and can't talk about. But can you tell that story, the viewers? You said to me the other day when you was in Ireland, you didn't buy into the crypto you was looking at, yeah?
Yeah, so there's crypto. I was in Ireland, and I got distracted. I was meant to invest in this project, and this is early stages. This is not a project you can list in. This is just you're coming in before it's listed, right? And yeah, I had the investor docs, and I just got distracted. I think I was my girlfriend lives in Ireland. I was with my girlfriend, and I reckon I'm blaming her for it. I reckon she said, let's go get a coffee. And I went and got a coffee with her, and I didn't read this thing, right? My buddy invested in it. My buddy invested the same amount ticket size I would, right? He's made off that trade, right? I think he put in 50, and currently he's sitting on a couple mil, right? Couple mil. So that coffee is the most expensive coffee that I've ever had in my life.
I'd be sick.
And it was an average coffee. Yeah.
I'd be sick.
Yeah. But it's not the first time that's happened to me. It's not the first time. In a bull market, you have to be comfortable that you will miss more opportunities than you'll catch, because everything's popping. Everything's popping. Where the real money's made is in buying something that's this is what I do, right? You kind of got to find really good projects that not many people know about, that are sort of low market cap. Market capitalization is the total value, right? But the thing is a low circulating supply. So a lot of these newly listed projects will have a lot of their tokens off exchanges. There'll only be a certain amount on exchanges. But if they're really good projects, people want to own the tokens, right? So again, it's just a supply and demand play. You have heaps of demand for something that is supply thin, so it just shoots the price right up. And so here's where you can do 10x, 20x in a week. Things can just go bananas. So this is where I like to play, and that's why I don't own much Ethereum anymore. Just because I'm it's kind of slow. It's slow for me right now. But if we go into back into a bear market, when I feel it's starting to bottom, the ultimate trade is, right, you catch the top, you sell out into stable coins. So stable coins are like a crypto that is pegged 1-to-1 with, say, the sterling or the pound. Sorry, the sterling or the dollar.
Is that like USD,
USDT?
Tether?
Tether. But there's all sorts of them. What I use is Pax.
And what does that do? Just follow currency?
It's just with how Paxos works is they have a bank account which is funded with millions of dollars, and for every dollar in the bank account, they've got a Paxos on an exchange. And so essentially what that means, like if you're a fund, like you're a crypto fund and you get a lot of investment, say like, you know, in the next sort of like quarter, we're going to raise a fund, right? And we're going to be taking an investment in fiat currency like sterling and dollar. That money will go into like one of these Paxos banks, and they will credit us 1-to-1 with a stable coin. And essentially why they do that is because we can move a stable coin around blockchains and through crypto exchanges faster than we can with actual money, right? So yeah, ultimate trade is you catch the top, you move into stable coin. When the bear market's over, you move back into majors. Well, this is what I would do. When you move back into majors like Bitcoin, Ethereum, NEM. So, you know, I'm head of trading for NEM, right? I've got obviously think it's good, right? Just a little caveat for your listeners. When I came into that, it was 4 cents. Now it's like 44 cents, right? And that was
it went over 30p today. Like,
yeah. So it's like, and I think sort of, you know, yeah. I mean, I'm bullish on that just purely because I'm sort of able to work to be involved with it. But yeah, so I would go into a circle of projects that I think are really good, and then sort of ride them up. But when things start to get bullish is when you want to get adventurous and take on more risk, because, you know, at the end of the day, every trade you make is a probability trade, right? You know, buying a watch is a if you buy a watch because you love it, that's different. But if you're like me and you're always a market guy, it's probability trade. It's like, okay, well, that watch is kind of rare because of X, Y, and Z, and I like the chances of that going up. So it's a probability trade. I would rather buy that watch to that watch, even though I might like the look of that watch more, because the probability of that increasing is higher, right?
Talking about earlier, the meteorite dial.
The meteorite dial. The meteorite dial. Yeah, so it's more rare. And that stuck with me. So I left and I was like, fuck, maybe I should have done it. Even though I like this one better, right? But it was an instant thing. Like, he gave me it. I was like, fuck it, I'll buy it. It was an instant thing. I was like, I should have just... But that's an issue in markets. You make bad decisions when you're emotional. Whether you're happy or sad, you make bad decisions. And like, this is the shitty part, right? You know, you love bull markets because you make money. But also I am generally quite like neutral, because like I'm like, first off, I'm meditating all the time to keep myself flat. But also I never let myself get too happy and I never let myself get too sad.
Yeah, it's good.
Because you make a mistake.
That's good.
So this is the thing. It's like, you know, I feel like I'm almost becoming emotionless, you know, just because I'm working 24/7.
Yeah. No, it's good. I talk about that a lot, about this balance, about listen, people you see like the life and soul of the party and riding higher, they crash just as hard. Do you know what I mean? So it's good to have that balance. How long do you meditate for? So
I try and do like 20 minutes twice a day.
That's long. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, so I do transcendental meditation, which is sort of, I mean, like the Beatles sort of went on this like retreat with this like famous meditation guy, I don't know his name, in India, and they came back and they were just making like really cool music, and they sort of made it popular. But like, you know, if you go and sort of look at a lot of the really successful famous people that you like, chances are they're probably doing transcendental meditation. So like, you know, Jerry Seinfeld, transcendental meditation. Like the best fund manager in the world, Ray Dalio, which is sort of like one of my heroes, big advocate for it. So, you know, I started doing it when I was 21, and it's the best thing I've ever done. It's like the best tool I have in my arsenal. Whenever shit, because like I've lost a fuckload of money before, right? And I've also made a lot of money, and that's not a natural thing. Like normal people don't experience that. Like where just like in one day you just fucking like you fuck up a trade, and then someone's gonna take like a couple $100K away, just like boom, right? So how do you balance that, and be able to stay calm and make rational decisions? There's no way I could do that without finding like that inner peace and just being able to like just tune out and be like, okay, I'm back, I'm level, I can make a rational decision right now.
What's it called? The meditation?
Transcendental meditation.
Transcendental meditation.
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
Legit, it was like, so I got it for my 21st birthday. My parents were like, what do you want? I was like, get me that meditation course. I think it cost them 2,000 Aussie dollars, right?
Was it here or India?
No, it was Australia.
Australia.
So it's 1,000 sterling roughly, right? That was the best money that has ever been spent on me, right?
Yeah.
You know, like I did university degree, 2 of them. Bullshit, right? Fucking waste of money, right? You know, even like, yeah, just because it can keep me so focused. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I honestly believe like, if you don't have a proper sense of self, you're going to struggle in life. You know, you might be able to make money. You might be able to be sort of successful, but if you don't have an inner sense of self, you won't truly be happy, and you won't truly be at one, because you'll constantly be looking. You'll never find fulfillment. And, you know, by meditating, I can cut through. So think about like this, your thoughts. Every day you're like cognitive and you're dealing with shit, and like you're seeing like advertisements, but you're on Instagram and you're seeing all this shit here, and, you know, you're watching this podcast and that's making you think things, and all of that's doing is putting impressions on you. It's like bombarding you with all this shit. And you got to like, and sort of that's going to influence you in some manner. And the fact is, like, if you can't shut off from that stuff and just be like, okay, what do I actually want? If you can't do that, you're gonna be lost for some time. And like, I mean, this is something that I'm passionate about, man. Like, I am passionate about this. Like, a lot of people today, just like, they're just not happy, man. And like, you know, we've got so much, but like, why can't what's the issue? And I honestly think it's because back in the day, even in our parents' generation and prior to that, you didn't have the internet, right? You had at night time, right? Say even before, like our grandparents when they grew up, right? Because we're roughly the same age. They probably, mine were in Australia, yours is UK, might be different. No power, right? No electricity at night time. You just fucking think. You just think. So you'll probably like have more of an understanding of who you are and what drives you and what makes you happy. And look at the divorce rate since you know, as we have more technology, right? The divorce rate has shot up, one, and then two, there's like so many people on medication because like they never had the chance to discover who they are, because they were just constantly bombarded with like, you know, we're in the attention economy. It's like, where's my attention now? Where's my attention now? Where's my attention now? And I feel like the attention, I know my attention span's like the equivalent of a fucking mouse, man. And I meditate twice a day. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, it is kind of fun.
They say comparison's the thief of joy. Isn't it? Like, when I see people scrolling on the phone, just boom, 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 I think, oh my God, but I do it myself. You know what I mean? It's definitely not healthy, but yeah, that was a nice little tangent there.
Yeah. Cheers, man. Cheers.
So taking it back to basics, we've gone quite technical. Taking it back to basics,